literally got to a point where I no longer centered men. I no longer dated. I no longer entertained a man. I no longer gave a man my time, energy, space, none of that. Was the moment that I realized that that same spirit had then jumped on the spirit that I was avoiding, that was in the man that I was dating, basically. That same spirit, which I'm calling a malevolent trickster spirit, started to operate through the women around me. The same spirit of deception, of envy, of jealousy, started working on neighbors around me, the few women that I did have around me, my own mother, family, you know. So then that's what made me question, what is this? What is this? And that's what led me down the rabbit hole of I needed a name. I needed a name for it. And that's what Spirit recently gave me a specific name for this spirit that seeks to, because the purpose of this spirit is to keep the divine feminine suppressed. And in particularly, once, even if you are not persuaded or affected by the attacks that this malevolent spirit sends to you, and you still wind up in your purpose and in your divinity and as a divine feminine in particular, it will then use other women to execute that plan, because ultimately the plan is between this toxic masculine energy and divine feminine energy. Now stick with me, because I know sometimes this might go over certain people's head, and I have to express this energy in a way where it's easily digestible for the listener. And that's not always easy, because a lot of times I get on here and I record in real time how the energy is showing up to me, and then I have to find the words to express that. That's why a lot of times my downloads come when I'm actually driving, like literally. But as I was getting ready to drive, Spirit said, I'm even in the situation that I'm in right now with the courts, fighting for my freedom, because behind the scenes as to what led to this altercation, it really was about the energy of the divine feminine versus this toxic masculine energy that had to operate out of the women that are in this case as the quote-unquote victim, and me as the quote-unquote alleged threat or the alleged aggressor. But a malevolent spirit, so malevolent in other words mean vindictive, spiteful, harmful, malignant. When you think about the other terms that means malevolent, and you really put into perspective as to what is the goal of this spirit, and it's to be spiteful, it's to be vindictive, it's to be malicious, right? It's to be hidden, it's to complete tactics based off it being hidden but in plain sight. So I'm in a situation where I'm in this place fighting for my freedom, but the real reason that led to this situation was because of this malignant, toxic, trickster, manipulative spirit that was operating in the people in this same situation. And the ultimate goal of the malevolent spirit is to threaten your life, is to take your life, and that's to take your energetic life force, and that's to physically harm you and physically unalive you. And when the malevolent trickster spirit wasn't successful with my domestic violent relationships, where I've already showed the receipts and I got to add more receipts, but I've been choked or strangled by men, I've been attacked with the actual knife by men, just very aggressive, toxic, abusive men. And it wasn't no because I attracted it. It wasn't that. It was a trickster. It was a trickster that showed up to be somebody else, to be something else. That's the trick. So it wasn't that, oh, you didn't see the red flags. Of course you don't see the red flags. Of course you don't. They don't come out swinging and strangling you and doing things to you that will lead you to believe that they're, okay, that's red flag. You're an abuser. I don't need to deal with you. They didn't come out abusing you. They slowly took off the mask. But then when I got to a point where I said, fuck these niggas, I ain't dealing with them because I don't trust them. That's when that same spirit then used the same women that's black, just like me. The ones that they figured, this spirit realized that I may allow to come close to me. They even came with masks on, acting like they were embracing me, acting like they were coming to empower me, quote unquote, to add to me, you know, acting like they cared. Even in a spiritual so-called community. This is why Spirit is saying right now, don't trust nobody. If they didn't come from your body, don't trust nobody. Because the way this trickster spirit moves, if you ain't conscious and aware of how this spirit moves, by the time you realize what happened, your head gonna be spent off. You gonna already been and fell in the trap. And see, when you start to create boundaries and you realize that, and you pay attention to your intuition, when it says stranger danger, them butterflies in your stomach and them knots and them chills that you get. And you realize that this person is not to be trusted. This place is not a safe space. I'm not going there. I'm cutting you off. I'm creating boundaries. You got to meet these boundaries and standards for me to even entertain you now. That's when that trickster spirit has to reveal itself, because it don't know how to deal with boundaries. Boundaries are created when a person loves themselves. Boundaries are created when a person respects, honors themselves, right? That's when boundaries are created. Other than that, if you're a person that are operating from a boundaryless life and boundaryless place, anybody can come and do anything to you and you will never notice it consciously. But subconsciously, they have already created a trap for you and you already fail in it every time. So Spirit is saying the war is against the divine feminine. And I know a lot of people say divine feminine is rising, but divine feminine ain't never went nowhere. Her energy, our energy as divine feminines or divine femininity has just been fragmented and distorted. You cannot destroy the divine feminine energy because that is the life force and life source. It can only be manipulated through malevolent trickster tactics. And that's why I'm in the situation that I'm in, because it was a war on my mind for my divine femininity, and it was a war on my life force. They want my life force because it is source energy. Damn. Because he ain't your man. He is your enemy. Better think about it.
You're so like a lady with a mystic smile.